I was in my early 20s, and my brother gave me my first copy of The Fountainhead. Reading the book just awakened something in me.
Susan Mule is a typical Ayn Rand fan in that she can recall the exact moment she discovered the work of the objectivist philosopher and novelist. Also typical is this claim that The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged were life-changing reads.
At the time, I was trapped in a very unhappy marriage and didn't feel like I had the personal power to do anything about it. Reading The Fountainhead and then Atlas Shrugged and Anthem and We the Living, all of her books, awakened something in me. And I realized at that point that I had this power in me to make my own choices, to live my own life, and was able to leave that situation and go on to have a much more fulfilling life. I went back to school. I got a teaching degree. I married a wonderful man, had a wonderful daughter, and I really feel that I owe much of this to whatever was awakened in me the first time I read those books.
Well, obviously for you then, when you learned that Atlas Shrugged was finally getting turned into a movie, this must have been pretty exciting.
I was excited. I wasn't entirely sure until I was sitting in the theater that it was actually going to happen. My husband, my daughter, and I and her friend went to see the show the day that it came out. We bought our tickets the day that they came out, about 2 weeks before we actually went to the movie.
And what'd you think?
I was very happy with it.
The critics don't seem to share your view, do they?
I think it's been averaging about 1 star out of a 4-star rating by critics. By contrast, it's been averaging 3 to 4 stars from the viewers.
So a lot of the fans who are active online like yourself, Susan, seem to be making the case that the critical dismissal of this movie is a liberal Hollywood conspiracy. What do you make of this?
I don't want it to be true, but I think that it is. The things that they're saying about the movie are just very surprising. There's been a lot of comment about the fact that it was low budget. And in Atlas Shrugged, I did not see the kinds of film mistakes that I saw, for example, in Twilight. One of the vampires had their makeup literally coming off. Those were the kinds of things that they didn't go back and refilm. Yet no one talked about that in any of the reviews. So I think that is one of the things that a lot of us are frustrated about, is the kinds of things that are being said that simply do not seem to be the case.
We drove 3 hours each way to see the premiere the first day at the first showing, and my hands were trembling all the way. The one thought in my mind was, please don't suck. Please don't suck.
Michael Brown is another Ayn Rand devotee who's also been waiting years for Atlas Shrugged to make it to the big screen. He told me there was a lot at stake.
Everybody knows the controversy about Rand. There are people who think she's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and some people think she's the worst thing since Hitler. So that we know, going in there's going to be controversy. But for me personally, as the movie went on and I saw it, they'd actually kind of magically, in my view, managed to penetrate to the essence of the book. I was transported. It was almost like a trance state, and I'm not trying to be exaggerated there. I really mean it.
So I take it you liked it.
It's exhilarating. I find the movie an exhilarating experience. We've seen it close to 10 times.
So what do you make of this idea that many fans of the movie are expressing online, that there is a conspiracy to deny this movie the audience and the glory that it deserves?
There's a conflict between the vision of Atlas Shrugged and the present-day vision of, I would say, most people in the United States in one way or the other. I mean, this is a very challenging book, and the movie is challenging also. It's an indie production. It's not made with $100 million or anything like that, and the style of filmmaking it matches the book in some important ways. So I can't say that there's any kind of conspiracy. There doesn't need to be. I mean, most of the critics are probably of particular aesthetic schools that Atlas Shrugged goes up against. And we have to bear in mind that the film was promoted very much on an indie basis. In my opinion, a little under-promoted. They try to promote it via social media, and I think the thought was that it would sort of promote itself. So since the movie didn't promote itself, I'm kind of stepping up. I mean, I've organized a Support the Atlas Shrugged movie Facebook group, and I kind of post incessantly. That's probably how you found me. And I want to see this. I want to see this movie succeed. I want to see the DVD come out. I want to see it go internationally. There are people in India who are dying to see the movie. I've got, there are hundreds of Indian fans of the book alone out there who are dying to see this thing.
This is something that admirers of Rand have been waiting for 40 years.
Lawrence Siskind is another Ayn Rand superfan, but as he writes in his review for the American Thinker website, this mediocre mess is a tragic letdown, a cinematic disaster unworthy of Ayn Rand.
Well, there was just a growing sense of disappointment as the movie went along. When I saw the stock footage of the Rocky Mountains still on the screen when Dagny and Hank Reardon are driving through Wisconsin, then I realized this just doesn't have very high production values. This is a grade B production at best. This is not Tiffany's, this is costume jewelry.
So your piece, Who Botched John Galt, on the American Thinker website has a large number of comments, and most of them strongly disagree with your review. Some even fault you for adding fuel to the liberal Hollywood fire. What do you make of this argument that there's a conspiracy to keep this movie from the American people?
Oh, that's silly. Look, if you're going to make a movie out of one of the most titanic novels of the last century, you have to invest more than $8 to $10 million in it. If you're going to do it on the cheap, you're not going to come out with a good product. And if you believe that anyone who criticizes that result is part of a conspiracy against Rand, then you're actually being unfaithful to Rand's own philosophy, which is to recognize reality.
Can you tell me why that so many of the fans of Ayn Rand seemed to be having such a real difficulty separating, criticism of this grade B movie from criticism of her ideas? What is it about her that inspires such a freaky cult-like devotion?
I'll tell you my story. I read Atlas Shrugged in 9th grade when I discovered I had a problem with my knee, which required me to sit in an easy chair with a heating pad for a couple of hours each day. And the doctor told me if I did that, I'd be okay, but I'd never be able to run. Well, I hadn't thought about running before he told me that. But after he told me that, and I used that time to read Atlas Shrugged, I got so determined that I went out for the track team and became captain of the track team. Now, I'm not saying that reading the novel makes you leap tall buildings in a single bound, but it does give you a sense that achievement is important, that you should try to live for your ambitions, and that accomplishment is a noble goal.
I don't believe there's a conspiracy. The film business is a business, and they will make it whatever movie you'll pay for. Part of the problem is that people will not go and pay for movies they say they want made.
Gene Oliver is a businessman and a theater owner. Recently, he posted a message to a Texas GOP website reminding Ayn Rand's fans that if they want to see movies like Atlas Shrugged, including the proposed Atlas Shrugged Part 2 and Atlas Shrugged Part 3, it's their duty to support these movies with ticket sales. Echoing Lawrence Siskind, he reminds all good Randians that the only possible invisible force determining what they can and can't see at the movie theater is, of course, the market.
The voting booth is the ticket box.